And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Quaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Mastermind here on LIBRadio, LIBTV, livinginblack.com. My name is Kidi Obiawadu, aka the Conscious Rasta. Weekdays, I should say Sunday mornings, you and I get together live from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That is 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspective. We deal with entertainment, economic, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Sunday. It is the 28th day of December. This is the 8th day of the Koras Ma'at Kwanzaa celebration, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, livinginblack.com. And let me bring in my co-host. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you, Baba Junius. We have you up. You are in the house. You're looking good today, Baba. How you feeling?
I feel well. I'm excited and glad to be here. It's a lovely day. A little cold, but it's good to be alive.
All right, all right. Dwara, we have you back in the house today. What a joy, what a pleasure it is to have your voice. How are you doing, Lion?
Doing well, Baba. It's great to see both of you, and very grateful for another day for us to enhance the world with our spiritual gifts.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It is great to have you back in the house. Always, it is a pleasure to be with a brilliant, beautiful young brother, Baba Junius. I'm sure you do agree. What a joy it is.
Yeah, he brings an energy and a perspective and an older. He's an old soul type of person, so that helps. But the thing is, he has connection to the younger generation. He has his finger on the pulse with that group.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Asante
Dwara,
Sana, Babas.
I would say
Thank
you
you.
want to account for yourself, all that tribute we're heaping on you.
I got big shoes to fill, and I'm standing on very broad and mighty shoulders. So I'm always learning from you both, and yes, just deep gratitude and humility to you both.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. No doubt we're going to have to put the lead story on the table for today. After a month or so of threatening to do so, the United States, along with Nigeria, has been launching joint airstrikes on so-called terrorist hotspots in northern Nigeria. Anybody want to lead that conversation?
Well, like you said, the Trump administration has been threatening to do this. It follows a pattern that began in 2001 following 9/11, where using the word terrorist justifies any type of aggression, any type of neocolonial imperialism. And he's doubled down not only by calling them terrorists, which is the norm, but he's making it even more acceptable by saying that they're going after Christians, when in fact the violence is across the board against everybody, children, Muslims, Christians. And the other thing is that ISIS is a creation of the West and Israel. So you have to take a lot of this with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm. Brother Dwara?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Baba Junius has mentioned. I also am wondering why there isn't an outcry for Christians that have been killed in Gaza and other places around the world that are considered so-called hotspots. And so is this yet another destabilization effort by the West, by the global North, to weaken one of the most powerful nations on the continent who do stake claim to major resources, much like Venezuela. That is to be revealed. But I think we can all agree, perhaps, that if Urugu is insecure about anything, it is their position in this world.
Yeah. As I'm looking at the story, I'm looking at Africa. Let's see, what is it? Africa. I can't remember the
All,
name of the website right now. I go to
all
it every
Africa
day.
news.
All Africa.
All Africa. Thank you. Allafrica.com. The story reads as such. I'm going to share a couple of paragraphs. The United States has carried out airstrikes against camps linked to Islamic State aligned militants in northwestern Nigeria's Sokoto state, near the border with Niger, in what Nigerian officials described as a jointly planned operation approved by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and based on Nigerian intelligence. Casualty figures remain unconfirmed. One more paragraph. U.S. and Nigerian authorities say multiple militants were killed, with local officials reporting that fighters fled across the border after the strikes. U.S. President Donald Trump described the Christmas Day operation as deadly and framed it as targeting extremists attacking Christians, a claim rejected by Nigeria's foreign minister, who stressed the strikes were not religiously motivated and had nothing to do with Christmas. So there appears to be a contradiction. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did apparently approve and agree, and from what this story says, Nigerian intelligence planned the operation, but it seems that there seems to be a contradiction between the motivations. Donald Trump said it is to protect the lives of Christians, and I do agree, Brother Duare, you are absolutely right. Point out the deaths of Christians in Palestine over the last, 2 years or so? It's no comparison at all. No comparison at all.
What about the
So
deaths of Christians in Syria?
Yeah, exactly.
the deaths of Christians in Syria, the death of Christians in Sudan, the death of Christians wherever Christians are. Hey, listen, Christians deserve to live. Muslim, Islamic people deserve to live. Hebrews deserve to live. Everyone deserves to live. Life is beautiful. Life is precious. But there seems to be some sort of hypocritism going on. And then when we look at Christians in Venezuela, pretty much all Christians in Venezuela, those people are not being allowed to live. So we have a big contradiction between the policies and the proponents of the policies. Can someone argue that President Ahmed Tinubu of the Republic of Nigeria, can someone argue that he's wrong in approving of these actions?
Well, if you listen to if you analyze what you read in some of the other stories, they claim the strikes were aimed at quote unquote terrorists who were moving into the area from the Sahel and taking, I believe, is in the northeastern part of the country. So the Nigerian intelligence may have confirmed that yes, there is some movement, and so they came out with that statement. I'm not so sure that that's a legitimate statement, that even the officials are in full support of it. It's something that's being promoted in the West, so it's somewhat suspect because they control the narrative. You're not seeing any contradictions to what's being said, other than the fact that they pointed out that it's not just solely Christians that are being affected. When you juxtapose what he's doing now, remember when school children were being kidnapped in Nigeria? about a year or
Absolutely.
so.
We cannot deny that. In fact, Flying Guillotine in the YouTube family just pointed out they played stupid games knowing the world is watching. If they keep going around kidnapping girls, no one's going to care what happens to them. He's right. Continue, Bob.
Well, I'm saying that there was no overt or covert action by the United States government to intervene and help the Nigerians in that situation until it had progressed for quite some time. So there seems to be a disconnect, and I'm very skeptical about the motives. I'm very skeptical about the rationale, because we've seen that the American empire can use any justification, any rationale to justify their evil, going way back to, post-colonial times, when they started taking on uh, the beginnings of quote unquote manifest destiny, and also what they did to our people. So I'm very skeptical about what we're being told and the narratives that are coming out.
Hmm. Now, in the brief section that I read, it did say that the Nigerian foreign minister disagreed with the actions that were being taken or the motivation. And he also noted that launching it on Christmas Day had nothing to do with this intelligence related action. I personally, I see so many contradictions here
Mm.
that I know I'm not being informed of what the truth is. We can then go to Nigerians on the ground, and they apparently are not. I'm looking at influencers speaking from Nigeria. They're not happy with the behavior of President Tinubu, and of course, they are not happy with the actions of President Donald Trump as well. So, is this a quagmire here, Brother Dwara?
The more I begin to think about this deeply, for me, it becomes apparent that this may just be the extension of what you call, Babakiti, World War III, the war against Islam, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm. That would be World War IV.
Oh, excuse me, World War IV.
Mm-hmm.
And the war on terror, so to speak, the war on Islam. I think we also must keep in mind that Christianity and Islam being foreign foreign religions, by and large, or at least in their current form, that have
Mm-hmm.
been imposed upon African people, uh, are really at war with each other, increasingly in places where traditionally everyone got along. We several weeks ago gave Ethiopia as a prime example of where the Beta Israel, Ethiopian Hebrews, um, uh, Orthodox Tewahedo, Orthodox Christians, and also Ethiopian Muslims all got along with each other. All were able to exist in ma'at, in harmony, in balance with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there seems to be this battle between Islam and Christianity increasing on the continent in ways that are not traditionally normal for us. So I want to highlight that point as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point you make. Let me read some comments as our listening audience is fired up on this issue, and I do agree they should be. We have Queen Mother Kashiva checking in. Step family, Hotep family. She writes Hotep. For Africa One checking in Hotep Mastermind panel and Global LIB family. I will have to listen tomorrow. I presume you will be analyzing the attack on northern Nigeria and possible links to the new Dangote oil refinery. We're going to tie those links together. Queen Mother Katsiba is, she said her cat steps on the keyboard. Oseo Kamau is in the house. Greetings, Mastermind. For Africa One, the troublesome AES and it much sought after resources. We're talking about the Alliance of Sahel States. It's now the It's a different name, Confederation of Sahel states, but it's the same group of nations. Actually, the alliance includes 5 nations, while the confederation is 3 nations. So there is a difference. She says, "You are so, Queen Mother, you are so right on. Your analysis is spot on. The Nigerian president is a CIA asset and a fool. What strikes now, the strikes now are aimed at the border region at Niger. Also, I do agree with you, Queen Mother. We're going to have to tie Niger into this. I smell a French rat, and the highest number of Christian population are located in the southern part of Nigeria, not the north." She's absolutely right. Point after point after point. Anybody want to extrapolate on any one of those points?
No, it's another piece in the puzzle. It makes sense. This is not what we're being led to believe. It's not some kind of humanitarian rescue mission or some military action to halt an invasion of Islamist terrorists, jihadists, or whatever they want to call. It's straight out imperialism and neocolonialism.
Yeah. And did anyone, I presume at this point all of us have, did you get a chance to see the first Avatar movie?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
There was a reference in the Avatar movie, which is supposedly to take place somewhere in the future. There was a reference to the Nigerian War.
Mm.
So there have been hints about this, and at that time I caught it in real time. And I did mention that, yeah, the idea that Nigeria as a rising superpower that will overpopulate America this century, America's population will be subservient to Nigeria's. Not to saying there is an equivalence there, but this demographics do matter in all affairs global. But when Nigeria rises to this point with its natural resources, and Nigeria is the leader of this block of nations called the ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, there is the potential there for Nigeria to lead the most powerful people or the most powerful nation to ever appear in history, let alone should Africa unite as a continental union, Nigeria will remain the most powerful state within that union. So from that conspiracy perspective, attacking Nigeria as soon as possible and ultimately being as devastating to the future of Nigeria, the progression of this emerging state, would be in an antagonist's best self-interest.
Well, that's the long haul. The short term is just to bum rush the assets. Queen Kishiba mentioned the oil refinery or the oil there.
Dangote. Mm-hmm.
My response to all of this, follow the money. There's always a short range goal and a long range goal.
Mm-hmm.
The short range goal, they just want to bum rush and control the resources. And that's a similar pattern you're seeing in Venezuela. Despite what they say, their reason or the rationale for what they're doing is all about following the money on the short term. Long term, obviously, it's about global hegemony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do agree. Follow the money. And if we follow the money, we cannot help but, one, we run into the richest black man in the world who's very distinctively Pan-African. Aliko Dangote is of the Islamic family, the Islamic house, I would say. They're in Nigeria, but he works across the continent. He's got operations going in many different countries, a number of which are Christian countries. So follow the money we bump into, and this apparently, I don't think it can help but affect Aliko Dangote's ongoing operation. But I would be very surprised if any of his assets were impacted in this. Anybody want to comment on that? Because I have
Um,
another story I want to tie to Aliko Dangote. But go ahead. You were saying Dwar.
sure. I just wanted to make a quick tie-in in that if we're going to mention Niger, then we also have to highlight the fact that Niger, along with Uganda, but focusing on Niger for a moment, has one of the highest fertility rates in the whole entire world. And then I also am, you know, thinking about Burkina Faso as well. In that, is this a wider message that the U.S. is trying to send that you are touchable? All these other nations surrounding Nigeria. So I just float that as an idea as well.
But to
Mm-hmm.
dovetail on what Duara just said, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but it was on one of my lists of things to talk about. Burkina Faso, yeah, I did mention it. Mali and Niger, they established the Sahel regional force of 5,000
Right.
troops to counter so-called Islamic insurgency.
Mm-hmm.
And Traore is going to lead that. General Traore is going to lead that. And you can see this news in africanews.com. So again, they're looking to try to counter and stifle any emergence of independence on the part of African leaders. Particularly, they're trying to stifle the regionalization and the coming together and working in a cooperative manner for these various African nations, because they know that that's going to pose a threat to their nefarious intentions. And when we look at their history, that's clearly has been their pattern. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we're spot on and being skeptical. What we need to do is just delve deeper and look into some of the other issues. Again, follow the money. Look at the geostrategic and geopolitical ramifications of all of this, even to the point that someone here suggested that the Nigerian leader was in bed with the CIA or has had some dealings with them, or he's a pawn or a puppet of the CIA. So that wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you both this question. If the three of us with our group, the mastermind, somehow, some way, had achieved a level of influence far beyond the three of us, would this be a case where we would then use game theory to get in deep, and make some sort of outcome, create some sort of outcome where we could make a difference? If so, explain. If not, explain.
Well, it is game theory. And as I say repeatedly, African people are on the sidelines. We're not major players. We're pawns in the games. We're manipulated by other people and other players, but we're not major figures or forces yet in the game. Now there are stirrings and rumblings that African people are uh, building up and doing what they need to do, i.e., that Sahel regional force, as well as what's going on in East Africa. So, in that regard, there are stirrings, there are attempts to get in the game in a more meaningful way. But in terms of where we are now, Urugu has most of the chips, and they're just manipulating the board, if you will, or they've rigged the game, they fixed the game so that they can maintain their hegemony and their status. And the other thing is we have to realize Urugu is not monolithic. They are the Dutch. When you break it down and looking at the Europeans and their imperialist era. It was the Dutch, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the French, and the British. They all had competing interests, but they were all motivated by the same consciousness, that Uruguayan consciousness. So that's another piece that we have to factor into this whole game theory thing, because we're going to talk about some other actions or moves by Urugu directed at the continent later on in the program, I hope, with Israel and Somaliland.
Yeah, that's a very important story. I saw that today on allafrica.com, and we cannot overlook and ignore. Hey, here, let me tie this in. We've been talking about Christians versus Islamic terrorists, so-called Muslims. The other third leg of that, and we talk about not just the death of Christians in Nigeria at the hands of Islamic terrorists, but we're talking about the death of hundreds and hundreds of Christians, if not thousands and many thousands of Christians in Palestine, Syria, and other nations around the region. Therefore, we have to bring in the third Abrahamic religion, and that would be the Jews. So what I am saying is, at this point in history, I will make the suggestion that one of the greatest oppositions to peace, the promotion of peace and propaganda that promotes us loving each other and all working together, UJima, is the presence of these Abrahamic religions. All three of them, according to my opinion. Dwara, I heard you make it sound. You want the floor.
I appreciate that. And you bring up UJima, which today, December 28th, collective work and responsibility. Going back to the Ethiopia example as just one example, I think it really is foundationally about culture, because when one is rooted in African culture, it doesn't seem to matter what religion you are. You're still able to harmoniously interact with your family, your nationhood, whatever religion they may be. And so for me, I think in terms of game theory, does it go back to this notion of really understanding the power of Pan-Africanism in such a way that we're not blinded by these Eurocentric cultural notions of difference. I remember a Mossy King saying to Martin Luther King that we all have two eyes, two ears, one mouth. His point is that we have more in common than we do not. And yet this Uruguayan virus, this Uruguayan disease seems to be permeating more of us, starting perhaps with the invasion, continuing through the captivity of our people, continuing with colonialism, but now this sort of neo-colonialism rearing its head. And then I also have to highlight, as controversial as it is, I'm not sure that we can continue to adopt and use the so-called modernity and innovation of our adversaries and not get affected psychologically and culturally by the underlying algorithm that seems to gird all of that. Now, perhaps that is not the case, and that can be argued, and that we could create our own algorithm, so to speak. But these are the sentries that enter into our culture through social media, through the music, which Baba Kiti, you so eloquently builded on recently with rap, hip hop, and the New World Order, and speaking of that deep book of yours. And so I think we just have to kind of, just summarizing, wrap up by looking at it like the promotion of Pan-Africanism, so that we don't get hung up on our differences, and we see that we must unite in order to in game theory to gain power. And then on the back end, we have to be very careful about what we are allowing through entryism, through a slow, slippery entryism into our families and our culture, that are taken over. Because look at our people as an example. You hand the child an iPad now. They're distracted. They're being educated by things that you don't even know whether they're culturally grounded or not. I argue that most of them are not. And then over time, you wonder why. And I'm seeing this real time within my own family. You wonder real time why certain family members' children are giving adults attitude. They're learning that from the videos. They're learning that from the music. So we have to be very conscious of that.
That's right. For those who are interested in what we've been talking about, I just put up a link into the Rumble chat. I put it up on YouTube, and I'm going to put it up on my Facebook page. A link to Stanford University, to an online course they are teaching called Game Theory. Now, this is Stanford School of Engineering. It says the following, one paragraph: popularized by movies such as A Beautiful Mind, game theory is the mathematical modeling of strategic interaction among rational and irrational agents. Beyond what we call games, quote unquote, in common language such as chess, poker, soccer, etc., it includes the modeling of conflict among nations, political campaigns, competition among firms, and trading behavior in markets such as the New York Stock Exchange. How could you begin to model keyword auctions and peer-to-peer file sharing networks without accounting for the incentives of the people who use them? The course will provide the basics, representing games and strategies, the extensive form which computer scientists call game trees, Bayesian games, modeling things like auctions, repeated and stochastic games, and more. We'll include a variety of examples, including classic games and a few applications. My brothers, with reading that, this is all going to the next level. Please, listening family, don't make us go there by ourselves. We need everyone in this family to not only join in studying this, but then join in with us to complete some strategies that allow us to fight back. I did put this in the private commentary as well.
Keedy, I wanted to go back to something that you raised. You talked about and remind us about the Abrahamic religion, and you brung in the Jews, specifically now in the modern era, the Ashkenazim. And we have to take a look at that because we've been duped. And when you look at what's going on in the modern era, the so-called Jews play the victim. So they, from our perspective, and I get it that a lot of our people use the analogy in the Bible to relate to the Jews in their captivity, either Babylonian situation or in Kemet. But and I understand why they did it initially, but now we've been just being manipulated by it. But we have to understand that the model for a lot of the behavior of the Christians and the Islamicists or the Arabs goes back to the Hebrews, the Israelites, that whole piece where their idea of God, and that's all it is their idea and their definition of God, that we don't have to accept, internalize, or project out where as part of our thinking and being. Is just their idea. Look at the behavior of their idea of God, where their idea of God tells them to go in and steal land, slaughter everybody, and destroy everything.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, these Ashkenazim, when you read what they're saying amongst themselves, that's the language they're using. In fact, they use the terms of the ancient tribes and places. You listen to these ultra-right Zionists, they use that language today.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be fooled by the whole I just want to this victimhood and this whole way that they
Mm-hmm.
take the onus and pressure off of them and the wickedness that they're engaged in by playing
Mm-hmm.
the victim card all the time, when in fact they are some of the main manipulators in the game.
That's right. That's
In
right.
fact,
So
and
very
when you
important.
Doug, just one more point, when I say manipulators in the game, the Wahhabis, when you scratch deep, and the Wahhabis are this fanatical sect and philosophy within Islam, where they condone attacking and killing other Muslims if they don't agree
Mm-hmm.
with their ideology. There is a deep connection to the Jews with that is not generally known. But when you look at it, there are some people who talk about Wahhab and his connection somehow with the Jews. So it's tied together, and don't get it twisted. It is game theory.
That's right. That's right. A couple of comments. There's so many comments that are piling up. Let me see how many of these I can get to. Um, Somebody wrote, you had mentioned the book Rap, Hip Hop in the New World Order, and somebody wrote that book was 30 years ahead of its time. That's Flying Guillotine writes that. And he says, Tupac made the Illuminati a household name. The fans are now decoding and calling out many things. I say again, logic rules. All of those comments from Flying Guillotine, and you're making great sense today. I want to put some other comments on the table before we comment on the comments. Queen Mother Kashiba is in the house. She talked about Nigeria is purchasing military jets from Italy of all places. Do not forget the Nigerian military jet that Burkina Faso forced to land there. And she said also the Nigerian jet did not have clearance to fly over Burkina Faso. That was 2 weeks ago. Check it out. Nguvu is in the house. He says, Sawabona, peace and blessings, my brothers and family. And let me just get one or two more comments in the house. Okay, we pretty much got through those. And those are the relevant ones. There's another story I'd like to tie in here. And this story comes from April 26, 2024. So the story is approaching close to 2 years old now. This is a very important story that we overlooked. This from Reuters News. Nigeria seeks managers for planned $10 billion diaspora fund. Now, I hope you brothers remember that at the end of 2019, this story came up. But at the time, it was Aliko Dangote was looking to build management for a $20 billion investment that he planned to make at that time in the diaspora. So might we see these current Nigerian attacks on the focus on Nigeria somehow be tied onto the fact that Aliko Dangote is putting his money where our collective Pan-African, which someone told me don't use the word pan because it's a Greek silly boy, but use the term African-centered, that the African-centered world would have been a big beneficiary of a $20 billion investment from Aliko Dangote that was proposed and was being set up at the beginning of 2020, but COVID came along through all of that, of course, that now it is a $10 billion investment fund that they're looking to set up managers to manage that fund. Now, I know
I
I
don't have
said a
any
lot.
comment. Yeah,
That
I don't
said a
have
lot.
any comment because I'm not really familiar with it, so I can't comment on it.
I
Yeah.
do remember you speaking on it, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that is definitely a connection that needs to be looked at. I think all the strings that are possibly connecting this to a wider operation are important and must be looked closely at because, as Baba Junius always reminds us, their playbook is thin. So this is not necessarily some novel new idea that is being used against Nigeria. This is it's only going to come down to a couple of things, and in my opinion, that's probably going to be money and resources, fertility, and just maybe the overall destabilization or attempt at destabilization in order to break up through their own twisted evil game theory the power that is being concentrated. I think maybe our people are not even aware of what's going on the continent half the time, let alone the power that is being created. There are very wise minds in Nigeria that are trying to, in their own righteous game theory, figure out what part they are going to play in the future of this world.
As you were speaking, what came into my mind was the song by, I can't remember the name, Chuck D. Professor Griff, Public Enemy,
Hmm.
called Fear of a Black Planet. It was
Black
not
Planet.
only a song, it was an album, Fear of a
Hmm.
Black Planet. Is this happening in the background?
Yes, I mean we could go to a book that we mention quite often, Target Africa, which highlights LGBT, feminism, promiscuity, and abortion as some of the locusts of control used to destabilize the continent. And that was written by is written by a Nigerian sister, an Igbo Nigerian sister. So,
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that Urugu takes the long view. That's why I say,
mm,
some of the things we were talking about today, there's short-term goals, but then there's a long-term agenda. Go back to late 60s, early 70s, the whole war in Nigeria, Biafra, and that whole region.
mhm,
And it was couched within the narrative that this was some kind of humanitarian effort or crises, when in fact it was all about oil. It was all about reestablishing Western hegemony over the oil. Just like Darfur was a similar situation in Sudan. So again, once we engage in pattern recognition and we see what their patterns are, we can pretty much and pretty accurately determine what their motives are and what they're going to do in terms of their actions. Now, obviously, we have to take in consideration technology and their advanced weaponry, but primarily it's the same mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me say greetings to more listeners checking in. Eddie McCrory, I see you in the house, Sawabona, and also Joshua K.M. Power. Grand Rising, he says to everyone. So welcome to both of you. It's great to have you in this. Now, as you were speaking a little bit earlier, Brother Dwara, I
mhm.
heard you mention and you use the terminology that we need to consider or study certain things beyond the consideration, beyond the study.
Mhm.
At what point do we have to issue calls to action?
I'll that I wholeheartedly agree with because as we know, we're real good about talking about things, not so good on the delivery of the implementation of the things that we talk about. And I can see that um, in my own sphere
Mm-hmm.
where it seems to be pretty easy to get a bunch of brothers and sisters together. Uh, to talk about what you so eloquently call the litany,
Mm-hmm.
which we oftentimes get stuck in, and at the same time understand that in order to arrive at a solution, you have to know what you're facing. But we get
Mm-hmm.
stuck there, and so yeah, I think direct call to actions. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I read in a book called The Pleasure Trap is about how moderation is kind of an interesting word, especially when people talk about diet. I'll use that as a quick example.
Mm-hmm.
Moderation with diet is not necessarily what we need. What we need, most of us, is a radical and
Mm.
immediate transformation
That's
with
right.
our dietary lifestyle and practices. And so, ma'at, meaning balance and harmony, does not mean that you can have a little bit of poison and everything's going to be okay. I'm looking at it differently in that balance and harmony means that sometimes you've got to make a radical move in order to get back to balance and harmony. And so, yes, to answer your question more directly, direct action and direct instruction and direct calls to action are in order.
That's
Just to
right.
dovetail on what Duara just said, he
Mm-hmm.
focused on balance and harmony, but that balance and harmony must be motivated by truth, which is
Mm,
another key
Mm-hmm.
element of my
Ashe,
eye.
Ashe.
So again, and to answer your question, Keely, a call to action, yes, we have to analyze the situation and come up with our truth. But we also have to be engaged in exhortation and education so that whatever actions and whatever behaviors follow are consistent with truth, balance, harmony, righteousness, justice, reciprocity, and the divine order. So there are a lot of things that we have to do before we actually take up the sword, if it comes to that, or put together and build some, make some bricks so we can build a building. So all of these things are important, and we have to engage in all of them. And again, I'm saying we have to exhort our people because when they're confronted with the evil of this degree, a lot of times they become overwhelmed and they just shut down.
It's true. Yeah.
And the other thing is that they don't want to talk about it because the next question is what we're calling, call to action, or what are you going to do about it? If you're not prepared to do anything, then it forces you to say, "Oh, well, I'm a punk. I'm a coward. I don't want to do the work. I don't want to do the research. I don't want to expose the lies and the deception." So then you become helpless and hopeless. And that's why I'm saying we have to exhort and educate our people.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
wholeheartedly agree. I just wanted to quickly dovetail on that and say I wholeheartedly agree. And dare I say that are the overwhelming majority of our people at that place in that the assault on the mind and the body is and the spirit is so pervasive, is so intense. I remember Sada Shakur saying that, we're up against a propaganda machine that runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. And that's what I'm seeing and hearing amongst our people when I try to have uh, deep, motivative, or intelligent conversations about alcohol consumption, about drug use and abuse, chemical addiction, and just the overall warrior mentality, like you mentioned, Baba Junius, of of not giving in, not submitting to that helplessness and hopelessness. So it's making me think that we also need a program to try to foster more of a resilience to this propaganda and this disease, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not just it's not propaganda is a key element, and mind control are integral parts of this, but we have to think of it in terms of omnicide.
Right.
What Keating talked about in his book about survival techniques for World War V and VI basically is preparing and being aware of the omnicide that we're in the midst of. They're out to kill everything, destroy our minds, destroy ecocide, menticide, they're out to undermine our health. And it's a holistic approach, and we have to look at it and approach it holistically, not just pick on one or two things, but we have to see it in a much broader scheme of game theory, what they're attempting to do now, and how we can not only respond, and responding is not necessarily reactionaryism. It's taking a counteroffensive or counterpunching or doing whatever we have to do to stay in the fight. Even though we've taken some heavy blows, we got to, survive to the next round, take that little break, and then come back.
Now, in the background, I just joined the Stanford University course called Game Theory. It says the course costs $79, but I found a link that says join for free and did join this course. My question to the entirety of the LIBRadio family, how many people will join this course if the cost is free? I'm asking my listening audience, I want you to respond, yes or no. If yes, obviously you know why you're joining. But if no, why would you not join a college level course at Stanford University that it says 571,072 people have already enrolled in studying game theory? And I can assure you that many of that 500,000, 500,000 people, many of them are in leadership positions across the federal government and governments around the world. Why would we not want to join this? Are people too busy to study game theory?
Well, I think personally it goes back to what we just mentioned, is the malaise, the stupor, as Baba Junius often says, that our people are in. And I'm not making excuses for our people by any stretch of the imagination. It's something that we are currently contending with. The state of our people is like triage. It's the ER. We're bleeding out, and I can't even get someone to try guacamole, let alone
even if the guacamole is free.
Yeah, exactly. And so my mind is trying to wrap itself around. Well, again, I've been long saying that it's not. Harriet Tubman said it. Not everyone's going to make it. And I can also say that the chosen few are the few who chose. Many are called, but many are called, but few are chosen, and that's because the few that chose, they chose to be chosen. So we may have to work with a smaller population, a smaller demographic of our people that are healthy enough to do the work.
Robert Jr., did you have a comment?
Again, it's not surprising. Look at how few people tune in to catch this program live. Now, I don't know how many view it on demand, but again, we're up against this overwhelming omnicide, this assault, omni-war. It's all over, and I'm not making excuses, and I'm not attempting to give us a way out and toward cowardice. I'm just saying this is what we're up against, and it gets back to my suggestion about exhortation and education. We have to be consistent. We have to be uncompromising, and we have to be at the point where they can't co-opt us. I would encourage people to watch Dave Chappelle's latest uh, show on Netflix, because he takes on some major issues, and once you get past the language, the vulgarity, but if you listen to what he's saying and listen to the information he's imparting, and then particularly at the end of the program, I'm not going to do a spoiler thing and tell you about the ending, but check it out.
Yeah, I did check it out, and pardon me, Baba Junius, for being a little bit provocative here, but I think that Dave Chappelle may have poisoned himself to the point that he's lost his value and his edge to our people. Now, I got to be real careful saying that, because I still do. The name Dave Chappelle comes up, I'm compelled to watch it, but I was really disappointed in his latest presentation. I didn't think it was all unuseful, but I think that Dave Chappelle's focus on poisoning himself, and you see him do it in real time, knowing he's poisoning himself, is that he's taken away his own edge. He doesn't have the edge that I have strived so hard for, and that I do encourage our people. He being a vegetarian, being detoxing on a regular basis, etc., etc., etc. So I was disappointed in that presentation.
Well, but you got to keep in mind the context. He is edgy in the sense that, okay, he has this reputation that he turned his back on X number of millions of dollars. I don't know how true that is or whatever.
Well, so that was 15 years ago.
Yeah, but he has a reputation. And he does address issues within the context of being a quote unquote comedian. So you see a lot of these comedians, it's subtle, but a lot of them have props. So when on stage, his prop is constant smoking, whereas somebody else like Red Fox, his prop was having a drink. It might have been tea in there, but we don't know, but it was just a prop. But him doing that will influence others. Oh, hey, smoking is cool. So I agree. And I agree that there's some other issues that need to be raised. And Umar Johnson raised some issues about his pet peeves about him being in an interracial marriage and on and on and on. But I'm saying to look at it not just for being meant to be mesmerized, but look at it from a critical standpoint. So we can criticize him for any number of things, but look at what he's talking about and look at some of the things, the issues he's bringing up in terms of, like I said, I don't want to be a spoiler, but look at some of the issues that he brought up about Combs, Jack Johnson, and some of the other issues.
And he also pointed out, I think it was in that lecture, he pointed out the deaths of journalists that have taken place in Palestine over a year, and compared that to some other complaint. I don't know where they got about journalists being killed. Oh, why people who would turn against Saudi Arabia over the death of Khashoggi, the journalist. But he pointed out the Zionists killed 240 journalists over the last year. So a one-on-one comparison, no comparison. And that was a good point. I like it when he makes strong points like that. It's just that I'm a little disappointed that this Dave Chappelle is not staying on a trajectory that he had been on maybe 5-10 years ago. And maybe I'm nitpicking, but personally, I wish that he wouldn't show our young people the vision of him chain smoking. he chain
Yeah,
smoked the
right.
entire
Well, but
show.
that's his prop. But there's no excuse for that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at how media community comedians and even nightclub comedians operate, a lot of times they're not just standing there. It
Mm-hmm.
may be the prop may be some water, even though they need it under the lights or whatever. The prop might be their clothing. The prop might be how they handle the microphone. The prop might be some other things. And I agree with you. That's something and he even mentions that in there. Again, I'm trying to avoid being a spoiler,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that he addresses those issues,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and he did it fearlessly from my observation. So
Mm-hmm.
again, look at it from a critical perspective. Just don't sit there passively embracing everything he says. Listen to it, see it a couple of times, because a lot of the information that he's giving, a lot of our people don't know.
Mm-hmm. And last point I'll make about Dave Chappelle, and I'm gonna get off his case because, again, as a comedian, I love comedy as a vehicle for criticizing everybody and everything, which I hope I'm not. I hope I'm funny enough that I can use this to criticize Dave. But his refusal to disregard the N word.
Mm.
He gives everybody equal
Yep.
standing with the
Right.
N word.
Right.
Personally, I think that the N word, I discarded it many years ago and I do not use it. If there are other terms, if I'm referring to my brother, I'll use the term brother. If it's a black man, I'm not going to call him the N word. If he's talking about Donald Trump, he calls him the N word. He calls everybody the N word, which means the word has no more value unless it's just another way of saying 8 different things simultaneously. I don't know what he means when he's talking about the N word.
Well, I think that's why he does it. Again, from a critical perspective, I'm critical of him for his profanity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm critical of him for his prop being a chain smoker. Because
That's right.
remember, a couple of the series he was doing those vaping things. So
Mm-hmm.
now he's going even further back to the cigarettes. It's just a constant chain smoking. But again, look at it from a critical perspective, like we are. And we're being
Mm-hmm.
critical, and rightly so, because he's a prominent person.
That's right.
But the other thing is, we have to look at how entertainment has been totally co-opted. Now, the tribe has always had an agenda to control the entertainment, whether it was, how they moved in and controlled vaudeville, the theaters, motion pictures, radio, television, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he knows who's out there and
Mm-hmm.
he still says it, it's like one of those things, like Arsenio Hall used to say, things that make you go, So
Hmm.
and that's all I'm saying. I'm not
Yeah.
hero worshiping him at all. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying that compared to some of the stuff that's out there, it's thought provoking. Where some of the stuff is just out and out foul.
Yeah. I do agree. Did you want to comment, Brother Dwyer?
Yeah, I'm kind of taking some notes in the background. I'll try to tie everything up real quick by saying that I agree that sometimes we have to eat the fruit and leave the peel, and so sometimes we have to just take what we can from someone or something and apply it, but not well. Someone much wiser than myself said it succinctly like this: keep an open mind, but not so open that you allow anything to crawl in it.
I say.
That's one
Right,
point.
right.
Another point is this. I guess I'm trying to define this. It's like a liberal social looseness where
Mm.
it's like it's fashionable now and trendy at the complete abhorrence of our ancestors, by the way, to just kind of not care. And so to smoke, to use profanity, to be walking around cussing in public, what that really is a form of acute antisocial behavior. You see these photos too of everybody taking a group picture and throwing up the middle finger. That's antisocial behavior. And so
That's
I'm
right.
gonna take that even a step further and say that's anti-Ubuntu. Because Ubuntu means that you understand that you are a reflection of every other human being. And so if you're acting foul, then you're communicating, you're suggesting, you're signaling, you're symbolizing that you really don't care about anyone else, including yourself. And so how did we get to this place where not more than 50 years ago, our ancestors and our elders were very, very careful about how they spoke in public, about their words, their ways and their actions, and yet we've seemed to deviate from that. And the last point I'll make is that only the strong are resilient. And I'm kind of ticked off and really tired of and frustrated of having to compete with trying to help our people save our lives, because I'm hearing things in my daily conversations with people like I don't like carrots. I don't like the taste of carrots. And what's the alternative? Do you like the taste of death? Do you like the taste of death more than you like the taste of carrots? I'm using that as an extreme example to say that we've been weakened and we have to get strong. We have to be resilient. We need healthy warriors out here. And that's really going to be something of strong topic amongst our children, because I am seeing that these beloved, sweet, beautiful children of ours, they are being intentionally weakened right before our eyes.
No question. No question. And it's part of the omnicide that I've been talking about. But I just want to say this. Keep in mind, in this culture, in this Western culture, satire and mockery can be great weapons and forms of dissent. So I'll just say that. And lastly, Dave Chappelle and all these other guys are pushing the envelope. That's what certain people, certain elements want. Pushing the envelope against the present order. So if the order is civility, they push the envelope to be violent and incivil. If the order is to embrace just open genocide, there are certain people in the networks who are pushing that envelope even more and more and more. So we need to be not hero worshiping and not idolaters looking up to people like that. It's just being critical of what's being put out there, because this is part of the war for our minds, our thoughts, and our worldview.
Exactly.
All right. Well, to the best of our abilities, we're going to do the best we can with what we've got. We do have some more comments have come in. Let me just share these comments. We see Queen Mother Kashiba says, yes, I agree with you, Kitty. Thank you, Mr. D. I agree. And I'm also thankful for what you are saying, Mr. D. That's Brother Dewara. Always, always. And we do see Brother Gus is checking in. He says, I think Dave knows he has a problem. And of course, I hope he does know. And there's also, I'm trying to figure out how to turn this comment off that I put up into the chat. I can't figure out how to turn it off. But the comment was, he says, I'll join. We're talking about the class on game theory. Flying Guillotine, I'll join. I'm rusty as a student, but you'll pull me through. We'll all pull together. Harambe. Harambe,
Harambe.
Harambe. And
Indeed.
so we see that a few more comments have come in on the YouTube page, and great to see our YouTube family is fired up these days. He says, Flying Guillotine, a lot of comedians are used to promote swaying of public opinion, but Dave doesn't need that money. He does what he wants. If anything, Dave wakes people up. And I do completely agree. He does wake people up only to fall into the muck again. Smoking of Cuban cigars, tobacco, this is from Eddie. Tobacco has become a big fad. Is there any healthy smoking? I completely agree, Brother Eddie. There is no healthy smoking, including ganja. A flying guillotine. I'm a combat veteran. I can't judge Dave at all. Um, I'm going to just let that statement stand as it is and really has any respect. We appreciate your experiences. We hope that your experiences help us all to move forward. But I'm not into the U.S. military, so I'll just kind of leave that alone. Anybody want to comment on that from Flying Guillotine?
Now, again, people are sharing their thoughts and ideas. I mentioned Dave Chappelle merely to say, here's a vehicle that you can use to think critically about someone who's in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not about holding Dave Chappelle up. He certainly doesn't need any more money. He doesn't need any adulation or celebrity. And again, the media is not here to enlighten us from an African perspective.
That's right.
Right.
So take that and with a grain of salt. But again, it's about pushing the envelope.
Mm-hmm. I do
Because
completely
if he wasn't
agree.
valuable to them, he wouldn't be up there.
Right.
All right. We have plenty of time to talk about other topics. Is there anything else that we could use to, to talk about today with our remaining time? He said, and in fact, Queen Mother Kashiba just said the exact same thing. Please move past Dave Chappelle. And thank you for, I agree with you, Queen Mother. Oh, let me just say this much before we move past. That yesterday I had the wonderful opportunity to go to Las Vegas's West Las Vegas Library, where the blacks gather every year for our Kwanzaa celebration. And one of the people in attendance, and she was given props and honors from the stage, is our Las Vegas Queen Mother, and that's Queen Mother Tallman. And she is just celebrating her 99th birthday.
Wow.
And so I had the wonderful opportunity to greet her at the end of the program. And as I walked over to greet her, I had, for the first time, noticed how frail she has become. And so I then took time out, along with another Baba who was there, and escorted her out of the library and walked very gently with her across the lot to the other building, the main library building, or the main theater building. And it took a while, and I had a chance to speak with her and listen to her. And I'm very, very gentle with this woman. She's 99 years old, very frail, but she did walk and she could stand up on her own as well. But the idea of using the N word around her,
Mm.
of cursing in her presence, or of smoking tobacco or whatever substance in her presence, no, I was as gentle with this elder as I possibly could have been. Would it be too much to ask of Dave Chappelle to create a dialogue where this beautiful, gentle, fragile elder could participate as well? Or is it only for Gen X and later? Or are those the only ones allowed to listen to Dave Chappelle? Because Baba Jr. says, for our generation, this level of behavior is not expected of our generation.
When you say not expected, you talking about being gentle or being vulgar?
The vulgarity.
Yeah, well, but keep in mind, we're immersed in it. When we were growing up, and I'm slightly older than you, if there was, they called it blue material, it was hidden. It wasn't out in the open. If they had Red Fox records or whatever, they were hidden. They weren't in with the other albums.
Mm-hmm.
Gradually, they began lowering the standards,
Mm-hmm.
changing the censorship rules, pushing the envelope. And I dare say one of the great envelope pushers was Richard Pryor. Yet most of us have some kind of reverence for him.
Mm-hmm.
But again, in the overall context, he was an influencer, and it had a negative influence
That's right.
in the sense that he spawned other people, other imitators, and they were allowed to push the envelope. And
Mm-hmm.
again,
And
that's what's happening now with Dave Chappelle.
and then also Richard Pryor was the one who introduced to many people. Now he didn't bring it in, but he introduced to many people the idea of cooking up cocaine, the
Yep.
infamous incident where he set himself on fire,
Yep.
and then made us laugh at him for setting himself on fire. That I regret laughing at him.
Well, but it was something new. It was a new thing, and they were pushing the envelope. It wasn't just that incident. He glorified his dysfunctional upbringing,
That's right.
right? And so again, we get caught up in it, just like I point out the thing with the Matrix. Everybody loves the Matrix. Hey, yo, this is predictive programming. The heroes were hooked up to a machine.
Right.
And we can look back and say, just like you said, you regret embracing that. We have to be honest enough to say, oh, wow, what impact did that have? What impact did it have? Because when I was growing up, they called the blues, my aunts and great aunts and all of them, they called the blues the devil's music. They were church people. And what we're looking at, if they call what was out there then devil's music, what would they say if they were present in this realm about gangster rap and a lot of the other stuff that's going on now? Even in so-called R&Bs, the lyrics, compare the lyrics today with Smokey Robinson lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they're pushing the envelope. We need to be aware of how they're pushing the envelope, because when we look back, we see 2 generations behind us who are embracing this filth and degeneracy. And we were exposed to it early on, but it was, hey, don't listen to that. Don't listen to that in my presence. Or I'm an adult. I can listen, that old do what I say, don't do as I do kind of thing, which didn't help us.
Yeah. Are you suggesting there is a great cultural war going on? And unfortunately, those of us who wander in the middle are victims of that cultural war?
Yeah, again, it's omnicide, it's omni-war. Every aspect of existence has been weaponized.
Mm-hmm.
And unless we grasp the totality of that, we can see some things. So just from the comments of our viewers and listeners, it impacts some of them one way, it impacts others another way. But the fact of the matter is, we are in an omni war where everything is being weaponized against us.
That's right. Couple of comments I'm going to share. Flying Guillotine says, 1 second, bear with me. He says, Eddie, our entertainment is produced by the mob. What does the mob push? Yes, there are characters and puppets, young and misled, but rappers, quote, keeping it real, unquote. I like that. And when we're talking about Dave Chappelle's commentary. His segment, did anybody ever see his Dave Chappelle show segment about rappers keeping it real, quote unquote?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
Now that was the Dave Chappelle that I appreciate. It was keeping it real, and he's showing the price they had to pay for keeping it real. Couple more comments, and bear with me. I don't know why I'm having a hard time with the program today. We're going to do the best we can. Sandra Muhammad, right. My dad had red fox and pigmeat marking in our homes, but we were not allowed to listen. And of course, and after my parents passed, we still have the vinyl. And that's great. That's great. Pigmeat Martin. Oh boy, that's wonderful news information. And then lastly, Flying Guillotine, the revolution will not be televised. Still stands true today. And I completely agree with that statement. The revolution will not be televised, but I suggest that the anti-revolution is now dominating television.
I wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
Wonderful statement. We're getting a lot of great commentary from from our listening audience, for which we are so grateful to have you all in this family. And tell more people about it. We are continuing our fund drive for this month, and this month is almost over. The fund drive, I can't say it has failed, but I say the next closest thing to saying it has failed. It has failed to accomplish what we needed, and that was to supply some surplus funds that we could put into an account and use the surplus funds to keep going for the next 3 months. The way we used to do with our fund drive, I'm just going to leave it at that. It is what it is. It did what it didn't. It did what it did do, and it didn't do what it didn't do. I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
still got a couple days left. Still got a couple days left.
There's still a few days left. I do agree.
Let's rally the family.
All right, family,
Well,
you
the
are rallied.
situation, the situation hasn't changed. The struggle continues. We just we have to exhort and educate. I mean, that's our role. Somebody else might be the general, or we're the ones, we're in the propaganda, because Marcus Garvey talked about the need to have African propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's our role, to exhort, educate, and to, I hate to use the word inspire because that's not what it inspires from within, but we need to just continue to present information, continue to encourage people to think for themselves and see beyond the omnicide, because it's everywhere, ubiquitous. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Any stories that we have not yet touched on here today?
I wanted to touch on Israel recognizes Somaliland and stress full support for Somaliland sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity. And I'm wondering, okay, what's the basis of this? Then the African Union and several other African nations denounced Israel for that. And then I wanted, as a subtopic, because obviously this is a bifurcation of Somalia, and if you look deep at what happened to Sudan, the Zionists had a lot to do with the bifurcation or the splitting of that country, because they were in the process of trying to resolve their issues when the president's plane went down. So is there a connection? Is it the same playbook? And then what's with the attacks of the Somalis here in Minnesota? I mean, I'm not saying they're not guilty of what they're being accused of, but is this isolated? And couple that with the United States attacks on Somalia.
Mm-hmm. Brother Dwara, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, that's a lot. I I think I
I'll
want
call
to
you
take
back on the radio.
maybe a basic kind of approach that are we surprised? Number one, this also ties into World War IV with that supposed war on terror. So again, me personally, I see that as an extension of the World War IV that you talk about, barbecue.
Yeah, and it never does cease, it never does end, even if we don't pay attention to it. Game theory requires those who are in that game to intensify their strategies, especially when the victims of that are not paying attention. So we don't see ourselves in the Somalis. Unfortunately, the role of the Abrahamic religions comes into play there, and they always oppose each other. And this time it seems like two sides are ganging up on the Islamic side. Personally, I have known Somali people. I love Somali people. They remind me so much
Same,
of
same here.
Ethiopians. I think
Yes.
everybody knows by now I am absolutely in love with Ethiopian people and the culture. It's just that
Mhm.
in Ethiopia, the religion is mostly Orthodox, but it also includes quite a few Islamists, as well as the Beta Israel are from large part in Ethiopia. So in Ethiopia, a beautiful, peaceful, loving country, you have all of these different groups, Abrahamic religions represented there.
Mhm.
And other than regional conflicts that do break out from time to time, I see Ethiopia as a model of how these three Abrahamic religions can share the same geography. Although it's not perfect, it's not completely peaceful, it is definitely much better than what we're seeing in the larger world today.
And that just goes straight back to culture, like we mentioned earlier, where there is this Ubuntu includes a certain type of tolerance for others, not
Mm-hmm.
for wickedness, not for poison, not for foolishness, but for other people's uh, religious and spiritual beliefs. When you're rooted in humility, you don't need to slaughter people that do not believe the same thing as you. When your culture is rooted in humility, you don't have to proselytize and try to convince everyone that your way is the one true, only, and right way. Um, that's why, for me, like Baba Junius reminds us so often, it comes back to culture and consciousness. Without that, I was at a party just last week, little family cultural party, white Jesus on the wall instead of Malcolm X or Harriet Tubman. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Liquor, alcohol abound. Everyone,
Mm.
getting tipsy, getting drunk. Profane, lewd, crude, vulgar music playing in earshot of all the children.
Mm.
Um, and the most poisonous, dead, flesh-ridden foods that you could ever imagine. And this is where we are. Here we are. What is it going to take for us to change that?
Mm-hmm. And what was the theme of the gathering?
It was a gender reveal party slash holiday party.
Okay, so they were celebrating a new life coming in
Mm,
while engaging in a whole spectrum of behaviors that are anti-life.
mm, mm.
Wow,
Nailed it.
that's deep. That's deep. Did they
Well,
hand out birth control, synthetic birth control to everyone who attended?
I if it wasn't for the music, I might have felt that might have been done. but the
Yeah,
music.
maybe the music was synthetic birth control.
Yeah. Well,
Robert Junius?
sorry, go ahead.
No, make your point.
I just wanted to say that the music was the opposite of birth control from the songs that I heard,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not but definitely the opposite of responsible parenting. Yeah,
No, the music is hedonism and just
Yeah,
indeed.
wilding out. That's what that's about.
that's right.
But you both touched on the word tolerance, and it goes back to xenophilia versus xenophobia, where indigenous people were tolerant because their view of the omnipresence of the spirit, what they called it, Ashe, Chi, whatever. So they were willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. And that was our undoing when the Europeans came. You know, they accepted them and they were willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because they were living creatures. And lo and behold, they used that against us. So, and then Kitty used the word proselytizing. The Arabs spread Islam through proselytization and war and violence. They didn't come up and engage in dialogue. The Christians, the Catholics, came under the orders of the Pope at the behest of the trading companies to unleash all kinds of violence on people of color, indigenous people, everywhere they went. And we look at the Ashkenazim, who are just engaged in total chaos, unleashing violence everywhere. The targets are indiscriminate, meaning they don't care. They'll kill and plunder and pillage anybody in any place in their quest to dominate the world.
That's right. That's right. I want to take a moment here and just take a moment and give someone their flowers. I had mentioned earlier at the Kwanzaa celebration, the presence of Queen Mother Helen Tolan was there, and I mispronounced her name, so I just had to look it up. And this woman, we have to understand, is of historic significance. Her home has been designated by the Historic Las Vegas Project as a noted listing for the city of Las Vegas Historical Property Registered. Helen Tolan served as the first African American female school principal in the Clark County School District. She worked at Kit Carson Elementary, which has since been renamed after her. She continues her work in education through the Helen Tolan Foundation. So I just wanted to put in context who this beloved Queen Mother that I had the honor of escorting at the event yesterday, who she is and the significance of her. And I'm sorry I didn't do that earlier, but I had to get that into the record. And I'll put that link up in case anybody wants to follow the chain and just see how influential she has been in our lives here in Las Vegas.
Ashe, Ashe, Asheo.
All right. There are certainly more stories and things we could be tapping into here on today's discussion of the mastermind. And if nothing else, I will say I am still doing my detoxing fasting, and I'm very proud of what I'm doing with my body. I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago that I have created a formula for extending one's lifespan an extra 40 years and more beyond average, and I am right on par with that course today. I woke up, I did my 20 plus minutes of core exercises. I did HIIT. I went out. I'm only doing half as much, 10 minutes, as opposed to 20 minutes because it's just cold out in the mornings. I don't like getting my feet so cold. But I did that. And also I weigh in, and I weighed in today at 140.3, which I'm now maintaining a 5 pounds lower than what I'd strived to maintain as between the last detox fast, I tried to weigh 145, which is what I weighed at age 25. Now I'm weighing what I weighed at about age 20 years old, and it feels really fantastic. While still, someone had asked me during your detox fast, how you feeling? I says I still did my 625 push-ups yesterday. That was my response to him. And then yesterday I did 750. That's in 3 sets most
Wow.
days. Yesterday actually took me 4 sets to do it because the first set I got lazy and quit at 100.
Mm, mm, mm,
But, we have to have plans. This is why we're studying game theory. This is me gaming my own body, my own aging processes, longevity, my telomeres and apoptosis and autophagy and everything else that I know works to extend one's life. I incorporate everything that I can think of. If you, brothers, can think of anything that I might add to my routine to extend my life, I'll be happy, happy, happy to at least hear your word out. Then again, we have to understand most people don't want to try this. Most people don't want to try it. They're content. They say, hey, I'll just take whatever the Creator gives me, even if it's only 78 years of age. Because that's the average death of a black man. Actually, the average black man's death is even lower than the 78, which is the average age of Americans at death, 78.6 years.
I remember ancestor Baba Kamal Kamban saying that you you can't love anybody more than they love themselves, because if you do, you're going to be in trouble. So for me, I'm not going to take that as a defeatist statement. My mind goes to, how can we help our people love themselves more and enough to want to live longer, to want to make these holistic health and wellness changes? Because again, in my frustration, I'm being met with, oh, you're too old fashioned, or everything causes cancer, which is an excuse usually given to me when people don't want to stop eating poisonous foods. And then the other one that I mentioned earlier, which is like, oh, I don't like the taste of vegetables. And it's like, do you like the taste of death? Do you prefer that? So
That's a
how do we?
bizarre statement. I don't like the taste of vegetables. Continue.
Well, it goes back to hedonism, which Baba Junius mentioned, in that, the more I think about it, and this recent kind of extended family party, it was exactly that. It was purely hedonic. We eat now, as you both know, even more than I, obviously, due to your age and experience. We eat now for flavor and for taste instead of nutrition. That is where we've got it all wrong.
And
Hey,
the two are not
Dwara,
mutually exclusive. They are not mutually
They're
exclusive.
not. They're not. In the minds of people, they are. But I agree with you.
Robert Junius?
Dwara,
Yes.
when think back on the menu or the foods that were available, were there any vegetables at that gathering? And if there were, more than likely, were they cooked to the point that there was very little nutrition left in them, or were they vibrant, or still had some energy left in them?
That's a very good question. That's a deep question, Baba. The beans were probably the healthiest thing, but the amount of meat that was in them, I would say that disqualifies them. So the next thing, or perhaps the most healthiest thing, was a small little charcuterie board section with pistachio nuts. And I've been paying really close attention to the sugar intake of people these holidays. And I have witnessed some family members, unfortunately, eating all day with things that are just filled with sugar. They'll go from soda and then have a piece of cake, and then grab some candy, and then someone made some donuts, they'll have a donut. You know, it's just like some people are literally just eating various forms of sugar throughout the whole entire day. And we know that carbs or starches are basically sugar as well. And so even if you're just eating bread all day or pasta, you're still overwhelming the pancreas with sugar. There's not a whole lot of it's nutrient empty food, pasta and breads and stuff like that. So yeah, no healthy food whatsoever, I would say.
Did they have any deep fried vegetables like some? Did they have deep fried vegetables like potato chips and
I think
Fritos
you're
and
muted.
Doritos and them other? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I mute myself? Let me
I
turn
heard you.
my.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's me or what. I think you're muted.
I did. No,
I hear.
I'm on. He can hear.
I hear you, Baba. Yep.
Okay,
Baba
he's
Junius, can you
probably
hear?
not hearing you as well.
Can you hear me, Baba Junius?
Yeah, he's not hearing you either.
Okay, yeah.
We're on, definitely on. It's you. It's the problem, and he'll figure it out here real quick.
Sure, but no deep fried vegetables either. No, you know. I did see a bag of Doritos.
You did see a bag of Doritos.
Hey,
Yeah,
Keedy, I can't hear you.
We're on. I hear you. I hear you fine, but you can't hear us. I'm having to use hand signs. I guess this is where I should have learned sign language.
Right.
I'm going to throw Junius, I'm going to throw him out of the stream and he'll reconnect.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
And let me throw him out of the stream and he can reconnect. And hopefully he'll be back in with us.
What do you think, Baba, about this this statement, this excuse? It's very derogatory. You're too old-fashioned, as if our ancestors were backwards or were doing everything wrong. Has anyone ever accused you of that, Baba?
Yeah, I take that as quite a compliment.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
it's conservative. And if we're conservative, and Baba Junius, you are back in the circle. I hope you can hear us now.
Yeah.
Okay, great. It's conservative. And when it comes down to conservative, Malcolm X was a conservative. Elijah Muhammad, his teacher, was a conservative, or maybe Malcolm X was the teacher. Marcus Garvey was conservative. Some of the greatest that we have had and still do have are conservative people. To be conservative, you have to have something to conserve. So therefore, the values of my grandparents, of our collective grandparents and of previous generations, those values that kept us through the civil rights struggle, who got us through the aftermath of World War II, and got us through everything we struggled against, I do wholeheartedly preserve those values, including preserving the values of organic food. There was a time when the entirety of the food chain was not compromised by highly processed foods, chemicals added, pesticides, and other contaminants. So yes, you, my brother, you are so old-fashioned.
Thank you.
See, the thing is, that's consistent with indigenous peoples' attempts to preserve tradition. Old-fashioned just means that you have a value of tradition. Indigenous people were not opposed to progress. What they wanted to do was maintain their values and in alignment and harmony with their values and behavior and their cultural norms. When I say they're pushing the envelope, they want total change. It's not just the content of entertainment. It's books, it's behavior. They went to even the most racist, diehard Southerners had some modicum of politeness and civility amongst themselves and to a limited degree towards us. When you look at what's being promoted in the media in terms of how we talk to each other, the incivility, the disrespect,
Right.
that's what I mean by pushing the envelope. So being old-fashioned, basically, when you take it to the max, take it to the most exponential level you can, you're attempting to hold on and maintain your tradition, your cultural tradition, your cultural heritage
Mm.
in the
Thank you
midst
for that.
of a major assault where that says modernity and progress are the main thing, which
I
we're
say,
seeing from an economic point of view is unsustainable.
absolutely.
Ashe.
I do completely agree. As we continue with our program, we got about another 10 minutes. Let's see if we can focus more on putting tangibles on the table for our people. Again, when I say tangible, make it plain, make it practical. Malcolm X emphasized that point. Make it plain is an excellent point. Make it practical, such as all of us can take better care of our health. We are on the verge, the brief. In fact, we really didn't do a recanting of this last year. I guess we'll do it next week. But what happened in 2025 that we do take note of. But all of us are about to put, or most of us are going to put on certain things we're going to do better for the next year that we didn't do this year.
Ashe. Yeah. Very true.
So, do you have any New Year's resolution you want to put on the table here today? That we're all going to hold you to it.
Well, I think one of the things that we have to look at in terms of resolutions,
Mm-hmm.
we have to, do some introspection and self-reflection. A lot of times we get caught up in resolutions because it's the thing to do, as opposed to sitting down and saying, okay, what would this entail? If I say I want to lose 10 pounds, what is this going to entail? Am I going to go out and buy one of those abdominal shot things?
Mm.
Or am I going to actually begin to look at the type of foods, look at my lifestyle, become less sedentary, becoming more active, becoming more discerning and discriminating about what I'm eating? So that's the first step. And so to me, where you're saying, well, I want to be more healthy or healthier. Okay, that's broad. So how are you going to break that down? What are some of the simple things that you plan to do? So I want to be healthier. So what am I going to do? I'm going to attempt to be more active, be more discerning and discriminating about the type of foods I'm eating. Duara mentioned the sugar and the drinks and stuff. I've been drinking a lot of apple cider, so I'm going to scale back on that and do some other things based on actually sitting down and looking at what I'm doing and say, okay, what can I do differently?
Mm-hmm. I know one thing I will improve upon. I've actually been doing it, but I can do better. Is making a point to sit in the sunshine for
Mm.
15 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the ways I can do that, because we're just about a week or two away from the new planting season here in Las Vegas. This is desert. Again, it's warm here. It's not going to snow. So I'm going to upgrade my garden now. Right now, I'm getting wonderful harvests out of my garden. Every day, I'm eating fresh chard, kale, parsley, rosemary, beet greens, arugula. I'm eating all of those out of my garden right now. But that should be actually about 60 different ingredients that I would be eating out of my garden. And that's just out of one bed. If I should choose to add another bed, I can come close to doubling everything that I'm growing in my garden. So 15 minutes a day of sitting in the sun, maintaining that garden, to me, that's a good New Year's resolution that's very practical and it's easy for me to implement because I'm already gardening every day.
Mm.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, a couple of
Mm-hmm.
weeks ago, we paid the rent for our plots in the community garden. So we're anticipating doing that in 2026. And we
Mm-hmm.
played the Gloucester Township for plots in the community garden. So my partner and I and the other brother who got us into, encouraged us to get into it, will be planning what crops we want to grow this year. And in my mind, are you familiar with the old folks call them the patty pan squash, the white squash? Because I don't see them anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah, those
I used to
lovely.
eat that in when I go down Virginia, and my aunt called
They
them the
look
patty
like a
pan.
little clamshell.
Yeah,
Does it look like a
mhm.
little clamshell? Yeah,
Yeah.
those are absolutely delicious.
But I
I
don't
grew
see them
them a
up
couple
here.
of years ago.
Okay, so one
Yeah,
of the things
I
I'm
did
talking
grow it a
about
few.
getting some seeds for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would definitely be grateful that you did. Those were fantastic. And you just reminded me that I used to grow those, and it's necessary to grow them again. I did grow zucchini and yellow squash. Now let's put
Hmm.
those little white squash in again.
Yeah, we had zucchini, yellow squash. We had a great eggplant crop, uh, tomatoes, peppers. We didn't. Broccoli didn't do well, and our snow peas did okay. We had several uh, things of green beans. They did okay,
Mm-hmm.
and what else? What else do we have? Oh yeah, our strawberries.
Mm.
Uh, they should be better. We had the kind that comes back where you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
replant,
Mm-hmm.
so they should be better in 2026, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you cover up your strawberries to keep the snow
Yeah, we
off of
did.
them?
Yeah, yeah, we did.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, that's what my daddy used to do as he had 700 feet rows. He had seven 100-foot rows of
Wow.
strawberries planted for not only the family, but the rule was at our house, you fill up my daddy's freezer first, and then you sell the surplus. And so we,
Mm.
growing up, we used to use my daddy's strawberry patch as a means of revenue. By age
Mm-hmm.
8 years old, I had the little wagon. And we were carrying those strawberries around the neighborhood. Wow, what a wonderful memory that is.
Mm.
Yeah.
I just drooled on my keyboard.
Now we gave
Awesome.
away our surplus
Mm-hmm.
to some of my neighbors. So we had a lot, and we had collard greens. They were awesome.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to March or April when we start actually uh, laying out the plots and stuff, and
That's
ordering the
beautiful.
seed.
Well, hopefully others are encouraged by your activity and will do exactly as you do, Baba Junior. It's not just what you say, but doing what you do. Also, there's another story I want to drop in. This was one of the stories that appeared on my website this week, is that Burkina Faso, where is this link? Here, real quick. Burkina Faso has just completed, this is not another example of fake news. Burkina Faso has just completed a new hospital. Burkina Faso unveils 70 billion CFA mega hospital as
Mm.
Traore pushes health sovereignty agenda. And Burkina Faso has inaugurated the Pala University Hospital Center and Radiotherapy Center in Bobo Dioulasso. And the hospital, that 70 billion CFA amounts to 125.6 million US dollars through a strategic partnership with China. And it's a very wonderful high-tech hospital. They shows a picture of him and a group of people standing there in front of an MRI machine. And I just want to say congratulations. This is wonderful news. And the beautiful thing about it is there's nothing fake about this news story.
Mm. Hmm. That's beautiful. Sounds very promising.
That's right. You did mention, and you'll go to allafrica.com, please, please, please. There are several stories. The uncertainty follows future U.S. airstrikes in Nigeria. Somalia condemns Israel's recognition of Somaliland. Those stories are all there at allafrica.com. I'm going to put up a link to that so that our listening audience can have allafrica.com as a news source very quickly. Oh, our brother Amasis is in the house. He has a couple of comments. Number one, Amasis Ma'at, mass death food consumption occurs even in allopathic hospitals amongst RNs and MDs. Happy holidays. Yes, mass death food consumption, toxic food. So when it comes to your health, can you trust a doctor or a nurse who consume that death food, highly processed food, toxic substances? He says, I'm eating 2 whole avocados a day. Ooh, he's trying to catch up with me. Hey, I'm not mad at you, my brother. Stay forever young and strong. Queen Mother Sheba, I'm going to preserve my assets and money as I think the economy is going to collapse. Become financially better educated and prepared to leave the USA if necessary. And I will say to you, Queen Mother, please do tune into my weekly show on Fridays. We call it Making Money Fridays on LIBRadio, where we not only talk about domestic economics, but Pan-African or African-centered economics crosses our table too. So when you do decide to leave the country, we're going to tell you the best places where your money will go the furthest, especially if one is retired on a fixed income. We need to disconnect from America and reconnect to our motherland. Any comment on that or anything else in our final remaining minutes?
I'll quickly add that I want to increase my my workout regimen, my workout routine. I want to do more to help support LIBRadio. I'm urging everyone, let's have this final push in these last days of December to both celebrate, but also celebrate through currency, the wonderful institution of LIBRadio. And the last but not least, definitely, I've had to put the writing down, dealing with a lot of family stuff lately. So I look forward to getting back to that as well in this next year.
All right. When is your book coming out?
It's coming out 2026.
The date?
The date is to be decided. TBD right now.
Yeah. As you know, right now I just started writing my next book. My book is due on March 25. Now, why did I say that? Because that gives me a very specific target date to keep myself on track. And I really just started the book. I started the book several months ago by changing LIBRadio to do 2 programs a week focused only on health. So now the writing the book is going to be easy. I just go back and grab those programs and just type out what I said and type in the references, etc. That book should take me maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks to complete. I might do a bunch of books. I was hoping to be teaching a class right now on book authorship. I did on Saturday, had the first course, was free, but nobody showed up. The first course of a $600 course was free, and no one came. Baba Jr., you have any final thoughts?
You know, it is what it is, but you just have to make an assessment, learn whatever lessons need to be learned, and move on.
Yeah, we're absolutely right. We have no choice. I have no choice. Your final
go
thoughts
out
for
again
today's show?
I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna have pull the plug on you once more. You cannot hear me now? Okay, let me
I can
cut.
hear you, Bob.
Okay. He went out voluntarily. Hopefully he'll be back in. Let's get your final thoughts for today's program, there, brother Dwara.
So I'm just thinking I'm trying to create a list of 5 things that are of utmost importance, and it seems to always be changing. But for right now, the 4 out of the 5 that I have: healthy food, that's holistic health and wellness. So
Mm-hmm.
a concentration on that for this upcoming year. The healing drum, which I'm phrasing as constant and repeated long-term exposure to African, Ma'atian, Ubuntuan, positive, wise stimuli. Number 3, personal development. That's daily self-improvement. And then the 4th one that I have is African spiritual practices that help keep us grounded, that help lift the stress from our lives, that keep us focused on what's important, and keep that anxiety and that anger and some of those more negative sounding emotions down. Asha.
I say. Your final thoughts for today's show, Papa Juniors?
Well, I'm committed to working with Catherine Austin Fitz with Solari with their Young Builders program. I'll be teaching a course on in their leadership thing on leadership amidst adversity, which should jump off sometime in 2026. Go to solari.com and look into it. It's a paid course, and see. There may be some slots available for folks who are interested. And I had gotten away from doing my Aquabin podcast, so I plan to get back into that into 2026, as well as my writing.
Awesome. Go to solari.com. You say there's a course?
SolariReport.com.
Good. SolariReport.com. That's
Yeah,
Catherine
yeah.
Austin Fitz.
Austin Fitz, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
SOLARI report.com, and scroll down. You'll see some information on the Young Builders course.
Asha.
Awesome.
Congratulations,
That's
Bob.
great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, if we have no other comments, let me just kind of clear up the last few things that are in the chat. Brother Eddie writes, my mother used to love okra. What are the benefits of okra? Okra has so many benefits. Let me just reserve that okra for a program. And actually, my new book will have significant chapters of the benefits of some of our favorite foods. I'm going to make sure okra appears on that list as well. My next book is coming out. It's called Mo Better Nutrition Solutions, and it's got a subtitle. I can't remember what it is, but I'm working on a book cover as well right now, and I'm really exciting about this new book. I'm going to show a few people who'll start to see the cover, and for your criticism, and you can help me help us get better all along. So on that note, I think we got everything in. Wait, any more comments have come in? He said, Flying Guillotine, Kitty, what can you put in a greenhouse during cold weather? Right now, I'm not even using my hoop house. I create my raised bed gardens with hoops strapped to the sides. So therefore, in the summertime, I have to put shade cloth on there because the sun in Las Vegas is brutal and will kill your garden in 2 days. And so I have to do that in the summertime. In the wintertime, I then would take the green screen off and put plastic sheets over them and now turn it into a hoop house or a greenhouse. But I didn't have to do that this year because of global warming. So we're doing the best we can to stay ahead of it. And on that note, I think we got all the comments in. Brother Amasis, I did get his in. He says, do not trust your doctor because your doctor eats junk food. Queen Kashiva asked the question, can Ghana be trusted? It still has U.S. bases. Can Ghana still be trusted? Robert Junius?
Well, the United States, the empire is putting pressure on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's up to the leadership. I mean, remember, there were several countries who refused AFRICOM bases. I don't know. To answer her question, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I would say limited trust, most definitely yes. Would I trust Ghana's future more so than the United States? Yes. If given the chance to repatriate to Ghana um, in 1 month or 2 months, would I go? Oh, definitely yes, yes, yes. Because my ability to influence the trends in the government and everything in Ghana is much better than trying to re-steer this
Mm.
ship of state of called the United States.
Very true.
Okay. Did you want to elaborate on that, or is that your statement for today's program?
I'll just quickly say that I think maybe it was last year I saw that the U.S. was either had or was planning on putting a drone base in Ghana as well. So that's something
Mm-hmm.
also keep an eye on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up. Perhaps, Baba, Brother Duara, you'll entertain us with one of your profound quotations from our African past.
Absolutely. A person without inner peace cannot rest. And that's a Gikuyu proverb. A person without inner peace cannot rest. So while all the celebrations are going on in this so-called holiday season and in the middle of Kwanzaa now, let's make sure not to forget to do whatever we need to do to maintain inner peace.
Ashe,
I say,
Ashe.
yo. And on that note, I want to thank you both for coming on today's program. Your contribution was excellent today, as always, is excellent, which is why I'm honored that you do honor us every week with your presence on your LIB Radio. Ashe. Thank you, Baba Juniors. Thank you, Brother Duara. We'll get together again next week, if not before then, to change the world. We change ourselves first, and then we change the world. I want to thank you, all our listening audience. There were so many of you who had so many great comments for today. And that is so important that we all pull together. Harambe, Harambe, Harambe. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you. On your favorite, we aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. Talk to you next week. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.